This is the story of a happily married couple, Nicolae and Elena Ceausescu, who together ruled Romania for nearly a quarter of a century. Romanians sarcastically called this socialism in one family. The concentration of power in their hands and the cult of personality which surrounded them was quite different from the other communist countries in Europe. Even the private lives of Romanians were targeted by the Ceausescus. Both contraception and abortion were banned. Any signs of rebellion or defiance were ruthlessly silenced. When communism collapsed, the Ceausescus were the only leaders to meet the fate of tyrants.
Hungary and Romania during communism wasn't one of the greatest privileges that you could have. Hungarians during communism were treated as bad as Romanians were during the Austro-Hungarian rule. Nicolae Ceausescu took away the autonomy from the Hungarian people. He reformed the country, changed it into new subdivisions. He changed some of the laws and created a new administration. Nicolae Ceausescu wanted to create an industrial powerhouse out of Romania, and he did everything necessary to achieve his ambitions. Communism states that people are not united by their nationality, but by their faith in the ideology. This wasn't the case in Romania, although it was a socialist state. Nicolae Ceausescu ruled with an iron fist, and he wanted to unite everyone under one nationality. That was Romanian. He wanted to Romanize everyone. This meant that everyone who did not identify as Romanian, their names were changed. He also closed the borders so no one could escape his tyranny. Me and my colleagues Patrick and Csongor began our research in Sfântu Gheorghe to see our ancestors' past. Now let's hear from Csongor some of our research.
Sfântu Gheorghe lays in the Eastern Carpathians, 200 kilometers east from Bucharest, and it is in Covasna County. It has a population of 60,000 people, from which 60% are Hungarian. In the communism, due to the industrialization of the country and due to the state factories, the demographic composition of the city was changed. Although the Hungarian population was bigger in this area, there was no chance to avoid using and learning the Romanian languages, especially for the men who were forced into the army. People with education could easily integrate themselves, in contrast with the people from villages or with less education. In Sfântu Gheorghe was only 3 factories with a few jobs available, which meant that the rural population could stay at home working on their collectives. In contrast, in Brașov was a bigger change in demographic percentage because of the factories with a higher capacity.
My colleagues Patrick and Csongor went to Oradea to enlarge their knowledge about the demographics of the city.
Oradea is the capital city of Bihor County and is one of the most important economic, social and cultural cities in the western part of Romania. The city is located in the northwest of the country, nestled between the hills on the Crișana Plain, and is divided by the Crișu Repede River into almost equal halves. After the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Transylvania was annexed by the Kingdom of Romania and started a period of Romanization in the area. The region saw a lot of ethnic tensions in that period, because until 1966 the majority in the area was Hungarian. After the end of World War II, Romania adopted the ideology of communism. The whole country saw a process of rapid industrialization, of forced industrialization, and the process of nationalizing everything. Oradea was no exception. Also, after the war, the Romanian communist authorities created an autonomous region for the Hungarian people in Transylvania. The region was dissolved in 1968 when the new administrative organization of the country, still in effect today, replaced the regions with counties. The Hungarians were oppressed again, and after Nicolae Ceausescu rose to power, he restarted the Romanization.
The real tyranny towards the Hungarian minority started after the Soviet Union, with the help of the Warsaw Pact participants, crushed the Hungarian Revolution in 1956. The revolution was caused by the general discontent and the lack of satisfaction of the Hungarian people. The Soviet Union didn't like the idea that the Hungarians wanted free election and more freedom, so they crushed the revolution with the help of the Warsaw Pact participants. Romania participated at the crushing of the Hungarian Revolution. This way they showed their unwavering loyalty to the Soviet Union, which meant that the Red Army withdrew from Romanian territory. During this time, the Hungarian minorities in Romania started organizing themselves. They wanted to start a revolution of their own. They wanted freedom of speech, freedom of movement, and general freedom. Across major cities in Transylvania, movements started. Fearing the potential effects of such a revolution, the Securitate, which was the Romanian secret police, made a lot of arrests among Hungarian citizens. These citizens were mostly intellectuals.
After Nicolae Ceausescu replaced the previous head of the state, Gheorghe Gheorghiu-Dej, in 1965, the Hungarian minority really felt its consequences. The Hungarians were replaced in non-Hungarian cities and counties, meanwhile Romanians were deported to Hungarian cities. The worst image to the Hungarian community was that their autonomy was taken and their universities were closed. To this day, in Romania, Hungarians don't have autonomy, but they have the right to learn in their mother tongue in universities, schools, and even in kindergartens. Many Hungarians felt from the beginning that the new regime was not going to be favorable to them, so they crossed the border illegally. Yes, illegally, because the borders were closed, and who dared to cross it, they were playing with their own life, regardless to nationality, social position, and ethnicity. Unless if you were traveling with the head of the state himself.
Romania saw a massive industrial growth and it was exporting anything it could. But the quality of life was at an all-time low and it was not dependent on the ethnicity. There were food shortages, limited amount of utilities such as electricity and even water.
Our student comedy group did a sketch on how the average Romanian started his day. But as so many of the words they wanted to use, like for instance food, were banned by the censors, the sketch was silent.
A man wakes up in the morning, goes to have a shower, and tries to turn on the taps. Of course there was one. No matter how hard you tried to turn it on, nothing would ever come out, because it was the hot water tap, and there was no hot water at that time. On the other hand, the cold water tap got larger and larger. I wanted to make a comparison between how big the tap was and how little water was coming out, because even cold water was rationed at the time.
Silvio was fortunate that the party didn't issue a list of forbidden gestures as well as forbidden words.
There was no political freedom, no freedom of speech, no freedom of religion. And the cult of personality of Ceausescu drove the people to want reforms, better standards of living, and free elections. So the Romanian people revolted against their dictator in 1989. He was executed in December of that same year.
Finally, Romanians could laugh no longer. Revolution broke out. There was a series of sporadic, disorganized but deadly encounters in Bucharest and other cities. In the middle of this mayhem, Paraskiva's husband went missing. She and the children set out to look for him.
I had our younger daughter in my arms, and the older one was walking in front of me. If she'd been one step further away, she would have been hit by a bullet. But you couldn't see anybody. You looked around for snipers, but bullets came from the most unexpected directions.
But the revolution got a decisive boost when the army changed sides. The Ceausescus were captured.
Today the situation has changed. Most of the Hungarian people can live peacefully with the Romanian majority. There are no discriminative laws against a certain ethnicity. A few conflicts are present from time to time, but these are generated by the people who don't want to live under one flag, one constitution, and one country.